In this video, guys, we shall take a look at the newest addition to the DCEU, The Flash. So without further ado, let's get into today's review. Let's get into it. So I thought then that this Flash movie was solid, and I think it was just an overall solid movie in the DCU. Helps explain what his character is, what sort of background he's come from, how did he become a superhero. It covers everything within this movie, and which is meant to happen. It helped shine the spotlight on this character and help give us a more in-depth view on this character than what we didn't already know up until this point, and which I've really enjoyed. I thought it was funny, action-packed, what you expected before you walked into that cinema to go and watch, and yeah, it delivered. I think it didn't overachieve my expectations, it met my expectations. That's all that matters, and yeah, I think it was a great movie within the DCEU. Not only did it showcase The Flash, it also showcased Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl for the very first time in the DCU, which was great to see Michael Keaton back in his role. He was mint, he looked mega, he looked like he hadn't lost a step. I felt that he was probably involved in more action sequences within this film than he had in his two movies under Tim Burton, in which were great to see him back in the flesh, back in that role. And I think this is probably the end for Michael Keaton's Batman. However, what an ending to go out there with, and I think the whole arc around his character is now complete, and I think his character now could be said is complete now that his world is probably 100% destroyed, and that Michael Keaton Batman isn't really no longer needed, and that crossover of several Batmans was actually pretty cool. I think it nailed it, and I don't think it hampered anything moving forward neither, so I can't wait to see what happens next with other potential crossovers, because it seems like they're entering this multiversal phase that the likes of the MCU are currently in, and so are several other franchises, so I can't wait to see what is going to happen there. In regards to Supergirl, I thought she looked amazing. I think that she's going to be used again in future movies, and yeah, I can't wait to see how that's going to unfold with her, because they presented her as quite powerful, but just not as powerful as Superman, because Superman would have defeated the villain like we saw in the normal world that we're used to seeing in the DCU, whereas in this alternate world with Michael Keaton in, and this other version of Superman, which is Supergirl, isn't as powerful by the looks as Superman, because Superman would have been able to defeat that villain, and it cried out for him to be able to defeat that villain. But that obviously was a different story, because it's a different world. Different things happen. Superman was killed as a kid before he grew up to be who he was going to be, which was Clark Kent and everything like that. And instead, Supergirl arrived on Earth instead of Superman, in which was cool. It was different. Really like this, but I would like to see her moving forward in a different universe being used better. And I think this was just the showcase of her talent, rather than here she is on the biggest step and that she's going to prove to everyone why she's on the same level as Superman. I think it was to show a different character, a different side of this character, and to introduce her well enough into the DCU. Moving on then, I really liked how the Flash interacted with another version of himself, in which was different and something that we haven't seen prior in the DCU, somebody interacting with their former selves, in which was really, really cool. And I think this might open the door to other versions of other characters coming in, and which we'll mention later on. But this was a really cool thing, and I didn't really expect it to be that good. But it was like the Flash that we know had to teach the old one how to become the Flash. And in doing so, he lost his powers because he was stood in the way of the blast. So it sort of reversed the effects of the blast, but it also gave the Flash in the other world powers, and he had to try to teach him how to use them. And there were several funny moments in this where he tries to do these skills and ends up going completely wrong, because likes of he hasn't got a friction suit, in which the normal Flash does have one, and prepared for that and worked everything out and was trying to tell him, look, you can't just go sprinting around this quick. why not? He tries it, and then he ends up melting his whole costume that he had on. I think it was a suit or something, and it fell off completely, and he had no clothes on. In which was just the highlight of that teaching pedigree, which this other Flash was trying to learn off the experienced one, which was really, really cool. I think they bonded quite well. I think they had great chemistry. Just the two of them, as the same person playing them, had great chemistry bouncing off each other, which was probably hard to do because they couldn't actually do any scenes together. It would have been like one time he was this Flash and then next time he was that Flash, and he was probably talking to nobody, or somebody stood in to cover the fact that he's playing the other version of himself. But that was really cool. But the whole arc around the second Flash was great because he ended up then becoming a version of a villain, in which was mint because the normal Flash, had to defeat the alternate Flash to be able to stop the paradox, in which was created via trying to reverse the ending so many times that it caused a paradox of all these worlds colliding together, because two Flashes were keeping on reversing time, in which weren't good for the continuum of basically that world and all the other worlds combined, because it was destroying the whole universe just with them time traveling every 2 minutes, in which was really good. I think we all expected that to happen because there was no way these two was going to be able to live within the same world without consequences happening. And obviously, eventually there was going to become a paradox because they tried to reverse like the death of Michael Keaton's Batman and the death of Supergirl, because they knew soon as those two superheroes died, they were on their own and they would not be able to defeat the main supervillain. And I think that was really, really cool how they explored that avenue. Really enjoyed that, and them continuously trying to reverse it and the same thing happening over and over again was just a thing saying, look, you should not try to change a point in time because you physically can't, and no matter how many times you go back and try to fix it, it's always going to keep happening. And that was really, really cool. He ends up killing him, stops the paradox, and then ends up going to another world, in which was sort of expected how he would accidentally go to another world. In that happening as well, he ended up meeting another version of Batman, not Michael Keaton this time, but it was George Clooney's Batman, in which was really, really cool how they introduced him back in. So maybe next time, if they do another Flash movie, in which I can't see happening due to the things with the main character Ezra Miller, but we'll never know. But if they do, at least now they've got a starting point of him trying to find his way back home. Moving on, I really enjoyed how they paid homage to several of the versions of Superman, several of the versions of Batman in the big world colliding scene, in which we saw the likes of Christopher Reeves Superman, we saw the likes of Nicolas Cage's version of Superman that should have been made but never did, and that was quite special. We also saw Adam West Batman, George Reeves Superman, during the crashing together of the world, and also Helen Slater's Supergirl, in which were all really cool moments in little homages to past characters, in which is always good to see. No matter what film you're watching, these little crossovers and these little homages are always something special. Finally then, I thought that the actors and actresses were brilliant, as we saw the likes of Ezra Miller, Ben Affleck, Sasha Calle, Michael Keaton, Helen Slater, Michael Shannon, Christopher Reeves, Kiersey Clemons, Ron Livingston, Maribel Verdu, Saoirse-Monica Jackson, Jeremey Irons, George Reeves, Adam West, Nicolas Cage, George Clooney, and Gadot, plus Jason Mamoa, which were all brilliant in this particular movie. So to summarise the newest addition to the DCEU franchise, I think that this movie is without a shadow of doubt just a solid movie, really funny, hence why I rate this movie a 7.6 out of 10 and a world-class film. So let me know down in the comments down below your thoughts. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it terrible? Is it amazing? Let me know down in the comments down below, please. Also, we have noticed not enough people have been smashing that subscribe button. Smash that subscribe button, please. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Laters.